DepEd Secretary, Senator, is that something that
It's
will
on the table
interest
already.
you? Is that something that's being floated to you?
I was asked about it by several groups and also from members of media. And my answer is I have still 4 years for my mandate. And I was voted by 20 million Filipinos in 2022 to serve a 6-year mandate. So I still have 4 years to go under my mandate, and I plan to finish all of those years because that's the mandate given to me by our Filipino voters. So, but then again, I am more than willing, more than able to help out and assist the new DepEd Secretary, whoever that may be. As you mentioned earlier, I was the chairman of the Basic Education Committee, 4 years in the running right now, and we have analyzed so many things and looked at so many problems, and we also have some proposals to improve our education system.
Sir, so if at all that it is offered to you, you are not partial to accepting the position because you still have 4 years to go.
Correct. I am. I want to finish my mandate because it's a mandate given to me by 20 million of our countrymen, and that's what's expected of me. So I want to finish those 4 years remaining under my mandate.
Okay, that's pretty clear.
Habol lang ako ng isang education question ha. Ihabol ko lang yung result ng assessment on creative thinking.
Creative thinking.
Do you have any specific measures, Senator, para ma-improve yung creativity, to encourage creativity at a young age sa mga Pilipino?
That's a very good question. I mean, in fact, before I went into this interview, I was looking at the World Economic Forum jobs future measure or jobs future. And I saw the number one job or the number one skill in the next decades to come is creative thinking, not critical thinking, creative thinking. Because the whole world is becoming very competitive when it comes to creativity. And we're not only competing among ourselves now as human beings, we're also competing with artificial intelligence. More and more, this technology is growing at a really fast pace. And I can see that in the future, we're not going to compete among ourselves as human beings anymore, but we'll be competing against machines. More so, human beings need to be educated and trained in creative thinking. Now, that's a really long-term reform that we have to undertake in our country, starting with curriculum. Our curriculum is not designed to promote creative thinking. In fact, I was looking at the senior high school curriculum. Only 2 out of 30 plus subjects are geared towards information technology and creative thinking. So it's a curriculum adjustment that we need to make so that our students will be able to adapt in the jobs of the future.
Sir, that's 2 out of how many? Parang ang
30.
2 out of 32.
Sinulat ko dito. So we were actually meeting about this before we came. I think it's 2 out of 31.
Oh my.
31.
So that means we need to tweak our curriculum in order to respond to the jobs of the future. But interestingly, if you look at also the jobs required in our country, they're all very labor-intensive jobs. For example, construction workers, manufacturing. So there's also a disconnect between what the world needs and what our country needs.
Right.
This is because our economy is growing not in line with the knowledge-based economy, but more the labor-intensive economy. For example, BPOs, construction. So that's a policy shift or a macro policy shift that we have to make as a country, not education related na yan, but more on a policy level.
But with 2 out of 31, that's not even just tweaking. That's like a major that's a revamp.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The reason for that is because of the jobs required here in our country. If you look at also the senior high school textbook courses, they're very basic. No? For example, skills in, let's say, automotive repairs, skills in food technology, very basic. And the reason for that is because our country also requires basic skills. As a country, we're not moving into that AI world as fast as other countries are. But the world is going to that direction. But the pace that we are going, the pace that we are going into that is not as fast. No? So it's also a balancing act, supplying what our labor market needs now as a country and where the world is going. So we need to, curriculum is dynamic. You cannot have a static curriculum. Because the world is changing, your curriculum should also adapt to the world.
Sir, bagay na bagay kayo sa DepEd. The way you see the problem.
Because daming magagaling dyan. It's daming magagaling. We have a lot of really outstanding public servants who can fill the shoes. Admittedly, 4 years is not enough. Whoever will fill that position should hit the ground running. Dapat wala nang experimenting, wala nang learning curve. Should hit the ground running. And I heard you earlier, it's a big bureaucracy. Half of the government bureaucracy is in DepEd. No? So someone who also has that muscle and grit to manage such a big organization.
Yeah, because former VP Sara aside, I think we've had educators on charge on top of DepEd all these decades, starting from Lourdes Quisumbing, there was Mona Balisno, there was Armin Luistro, even Liling Briones would qualify as an educator. Her background in UP does make her an educator also. So do we need an educator? Because people are saying we need an educator there. Is that what we need, or we need a technocrat who can figure out that mismatch that you're saying, what our economy needs and what are where we should invest in terms of human capital at the education level?
Well, from my personal take on this, you need certain qualities to manage this big of a bureaucracy. And 3 qualities that come to my mind. Number 1 is you need to know the problems, and you also need to know the solutions right away. There's no more experimenting. There's no more time to do the consultation, because that takes time. You should have been doing the consultation a long time ago, so that when you go in, you just implement the solutions. And then number 2, you need experience in managing a huge bureaucracy, or at least know the dynamics, how to manage such a big government agency. Aside from its size, its sheer size, it also gets the biggest budget in our national appropriations. It's about 800 billion pesos a year. So spending 800 billion is no easy task as well. That's why DepEd perennially, except for under the Briones leadership, that they've solved the perennial underspending problems of DepEd. And then third, you also need to have passion in education. A lot of the solutions will be outside the box, not the usual business as usual. So you need to have that passion. You need to have that advocacy, so that you can find out of the box solutions and implement them right away.
Okay.
Okay, Pogo naman tayo.
It's time to go to Pogo.
Pwede na. Pogo na. Sige, Pogo na.
Well, ano lang yan, it landed on my lap because of the resolution filed by some senators, but it's really education that we're really focused on.
Okay, Senator, over the weekend, was it POGO issued a statement saying that a former cabinet official has been serving as a protector of sorts for the POGO in Pampanga.
Or lobbyist, if you want to call it that.
I don't know how ready you are to name names. Pero, yeah, Senator, reaction. Should we be surprised?
I heard of names after, because we monitored it, this problem in our country, so we get a lot of information from the enforcers themselves. And I have a few names in mind, but I let PAGCOR disclose that information. In fact, we're urging PAGCOR to already disclose it rather than play the suspense game. It's better to already name that person that they are referring to right away. However, that proves one thing. That statement by PAGCOR proves one thing, that these POGO companies and the people behind POGOs have managed to already link themselves with former cabinet secretaries, high-level people, enforcement agencies, and that's what we have been saying all along, that the sheer money of POGO that goes around, they can employ, they can get consultants in government, they can network with high government officials to help them in their paperwork as well as in their lobbying. And that's the danger that we have been flagging, that these POGO companies or these POGO entities are now slowly spreading across the different government agencies from top to bottom and also sideways. And that will be a big problem for us because it's very difficult for government now to uproot this type of an activity if they are already deeply entrenched with other personalities.
Senator, what's the status of your proposal to ban, to impose a total ban on POGOs? Kasi we talked to the PAGCOR chief and he is defending yung POGOs, sabi niya, lahat naman daw ng criminal activities, only illegal POGOs are involved. And in fact, as you know, nag-i-evolve nga ngayon yung POGO, nagiging internet, internet gaming licensee na siya, no? And sabi niya, dapat if you are going after criminal activities, you go daw after the illegal POGOs dahil hindi na naman daw nila ni-renew at hindi naman nag-apply yung mga illegal na POGO. What do you think of that? Talagang mukhang may resistance pa rin sa abolition eh.
I mean, there's no legal or illegal POGOs. By the very nature of POGOs, POGOs are illegal because they get majority of revenues, or they get almost 90% of their revenues from China, who has declared gambling as illegal. So in other words, your main source of revenue has already declared gambling as illegal. Therefore, the whole business model of POGOs is illegal. That's number one. And that's why if you think about it, none of our legitimate businessmen has gone into POGOs despite the huge lucrative returns that it generates. None of our big tycoons went to POGOs because it's illegal and it's not a business that our country wants to attract. Second, the licensees, which is what they call legal POGOs, became the gateway for these criminal syndicates to come. And we have data and paperwork and documents to prove that these legal POGOs went to bed with criminal syndicates and illegal personalities who have warrant of arrest. So, in other words, this legal POGOs became the door opener, became the gateway for all of these criminal syndicates to come in. And once they're in, they set up all of these different POGOs. In fact, the illegal POGOs that PAGCOR is calling were once upon a time legal POGOs. So, for example, the one in Porac, the one in Bamban, they all have licenses in the past. So, and the one discovered in Parañaque was also licensed. So, in other words, they start off with as legal POGOs or licensees, and then eventually they become illegal because the illegal portion is much more lucrative.
Pero sir, medyo matagal-tagal na pong usapin itong POGO, whether to legalize it or not. But until now, we're still stuck with enforcement issues instead of the policy issue as to whether or not it should be banned or more strictly regulated. Eh. I mean, di ba, not huli, pero parang still in the air yung should we or should we not? How far or how close are we to getting to that point where we make a policy decision?
Tama ka dyan, Ed. No? That's the frustrating part about this POGO because no amount of revenue, whether through the BIR, through PAGCOR, or whatever revenue that we are getting for POGO, can justify crime. Crime cannot be justified at all. And the crime generated by POGOs are not ordinary crimes. We're talking about torture, human trafficking. We're talking about prostitution. And if you've listened to the hearing, the second hearing that we conducted here in the Senate, even the PAOK mentioned the description of Dr. Casio, the spokesperson of PAOK. These groups are horrific. They're beyond comprehension in terms of their propensity to create harm to our countrymen and to our country. They're criminal syndicates, hardened criminal syndicates, no match to the local criminal syndicates that we have. And this didn't come from me. This came from PAO, who is the leader in the anti-organized crime campaign. So, as a country, we can survive without POGOs. In fact, we will be much safer, much peaceful if we don't have POGOs. And we're just agencies like PAGCOR is just looking at one thing, revenue. But if you look at the entire picture, it's creating a lot of reputational damage to our country, and that doesn't bode well with our initiative to bring in investments to the Philippines.
Okay, Senator, I understand that security...
At this point, do you have any sense kung ano ng takbo ng, kung anong thinking ng administration? You think there will be a ban on POGOs, a total ban?
That's what we're pushing. A lot of our senators are pushing, including myself, for a total ban. We're saying that the revenues is less than 1% of the total revenues of of our country, less than 0.5% of our entire economy. POGOs can disappear and we will not feel it. But if the crime disappears, we will feel it to our benefit. So far in the Senate, my personal sense is a lot of our senators are willing to ban POGOs already because of these past few criminal syndicates and the crimes that it's perpetuating here in the country these past few months.
Okay, Senator, the defense and security officials of this administration have already, gone to the Senate and told the Senate that they do consider POGOs as a threat to national security. That's very clear. I'm just wondering why they can tell this to the senators, and yet the administration has not taken a stand yet.
Your question is as good as mine. I cannot answer for the administration, but you're correct. I saw in the news report, no less than the Defense Secretary, Secretary Gubo, said it's a national security concern. A word shy to saying a national security threat. There's also the revelation of abusing the late registration process is a big concern for us, because who can prevent Chinese spies to become Filipinos? Who can prevent Chinese government entities to become Filipinos easily by the late registration process? We all know that the late registration process in our country comes in very easily for those who want to be Filipinos instantly. You can be an instant Filipino just by the late registration process. And if you're a Filipino, you can buy land, you can get the businesses, you can get a passport and travel just like any other Filipino. So in that sense, it becomes a national security concern, in my opinion.
So, by way of legislation, what are you suggesting para hindi maulit tong nakikita natin in relation to Alice Go, for example? You have a Chinese, apparently we have a Chinese citizen na ang dali-daling naging Filipino citizen at nakapag-open ng POGO, 2 POGOs in fact, nakapag-own ng napakalaking lupa sa Bamban. What might be remedies by way of legislation?
I mean, Alice Goes, for me, it's just a tip of the iceberg. I'm sure there are other Alice Goes out there. No? Hindi lang natin na-detect. Because Alice Go became, in my opinion, emboldened. No, she ran for public office. If you see her campaign, she ran on a platform of lies. She lied every second to justify her qualification to become a mayor. In the hearing, she lied throughout, and we have documents now proving that she lied. She's just one of the many people who became Filipino through the late registration process. And we should be alarmed because, like I said, who can prevent other nationalities to become Filipinos? Other nationalities who have ill intention to our country to become Filipinos? Who can prevent other spies of other countries to become Filipinos and wreak havoc in our country? We have now proven that the late registration process is completely flawed and it created problems for our system.
So doon yung magiging reform na iniisip ninyo. in the late registration process?
Yeah, among other things, to reform the late registration and birth certificate system natin. We also have, my proposal is to separate the regulatory functions and also the operation functions of PAGCOR. That's another proposal that we are proposing. And number
Yes.
three, to completely ban POGOs. We have a few bills here now in the Senate to completely ban POGOs, and we plan to hear that.
The Packer statement, Senator, mentions a former cabinet official involved in this POGO in Pampanga. But I was just wondering whether, how far and wide does the influence of the POGO operations in Pampanga, how far and wide do they extend based on the information that you're receiving?
Very wide and very quite extensive, and it's getting more extensive. I think the ultimate proof there is that statement of PAGCOR that a former high-level cabinet official, this is not a low-level director or clerk, this is a cabinet-level person who is lobbying for POGOs. And that demonstrates that POGOs have already managed to penetrate the cabinet-level personalities.
Is there something? Yeah.
So it goes without saying that they can penetrate the low-level personalities as well. And we have seen some instances where information is leaked, information has been given to POGO personalities so that they can escape. We already have information about that. So in other words, they've already spread out. Their influence has already spread out because of the sheer money that they have. And that will continue if we don't stop POGOs in our country.
Is there something to read into the discovery of those appointment papers that's being traced to former Secretary Harry Roque? Is there something to read into that, or is that coincidence, pure coincidence? I mean, we're not familiar about the operations and the nature of the activities within the POGO complex in is this Porac, Pampanga? So I was just wondering if that raises some red flags as far as you're concerned, Senator Gatchalian.
I'll leave PAGCOR to answer that. I think PAGCOR is the one who made that press release, and obviously all of us are now hanging in suspense. So that's why a lot of us senators have been calling on PAGCOR to already release the names. Don't keep us hanging because the investigation is already ongoing, and it's not going to help if you just leave it in suspension. So we'll leave PAGCOR to answer that question because they're the ones who reveal that certain personalities are already embroiled in this POGO scheme.
Sir, do we have any indicators as to whether these illegal operations are, basically criminal syndicates per se lang, or whether they have
Geopolitical
implications?
National security.
In other words, whether these could have been initiated by foreign governments. I asked that kasi, for example, in the case of Alice Go, but this is hypothetical. In the case of Alice Go, you're looking at somebody who came in at a very young age, got registered, and eventually became a mayor. So medyo mahaba-haba yung gestation period from the time she came in, got registered, and became a mayor. So I don't know if criminal syndicates think that long term versus, for example, governments. But again, this is all hypothetical.
Well, Ed, let's put it this way, tayo as normal human beings, when we lie once, kinukonsensya na tayo. Sometimes we cannot sleep when we lie. But Alice Go is a different person. She lied every single second. She lied in the committee. She lied when she was campaigning. I listened to her campaign speech and she mentioned that she's Filipino, her mother's Filipino. Her life is basically a web of lies. And she is living that. And again, we have more proof. We have more proof countering what she stated in the committee about her upbringing, about her schooling, etc., etc. We have proof to overturn what she said during the hearing. So, in other words, she is living in a web of lies, and that's not normal as a person. I don't know what kind of training or what kind of upbringing she had, but definitely she's not a normal person, spewing lies after lies after lies, and basically convincing the whole municipality of Banban to vote for her.
So, sir, what are you implying?
I don't know yet. I'm still trying to analyze the whole situation. It's just, sabi nga sa akin, a friend of mine told me, pwedeng pang Netflix yung buhay niya, no? Because one of these things happening, pwedeng pang Netflix, no? But it's still an ongoing investigation. Although it's already completely settled that she's Chinese, she's Guo Waping, aka Alice Guo. But some documents are still coming in the office disputing her testimonies during the hearing.
Sir, I'm also curious, are you looking at other people at present? Are you already looking at other people who may have done the same course, gone the same course?
Yes, we have. We're still, I cannot just say now, no? But we're looking at at members of her family. So we're still getting all the information coming in, but we're expanding their investigation to look at the members of her family.
How about other POGO operations outside of Pampanga, Senator? Are there places of interest?
Yeah. Apparently, according to PAOK, they are monitoring 50 other supposedly POGO hubs or POGO entities. In fact, after the high-profile coverage of POGOs, I'm getting a lot of anonymous texts and a lot of reports of sightings of POGOs in different parts of the country. So we're investigating that as well. But then again, we're also looking at the late registration process. The POGO side is one. The late registration process is also something that we have to take seriously. Again, foreign personalities foreign individuals can take advantage of the loophole in our late registration process, and they can move around, they can transact, they can do whatever they want as Filipinos in our country and also outside of the Philippines. So that's a gap that that's a loophole that we need to address.
Okay,
Senator, naging issue din yung mga SIM card. Napakarami, mukhang libo-libo yung nakukuhang SIM card sa mga POGOs. What can we do to strengthen our SIM registration law? Kasi mukhang napakaraming loopholes.
Ako personally, I'm very disappointed with NTC. This problem, we already flagged them with this problem, I think more than 6 months ago. We conducted the hearing here in the Senate. Yung mga unggoy, pwede magkumuha ng SIM card.
Yeah.
So that goes to show that the SIM card registration law is not working. But NTC did not do anything. They knew that there's also problems with the SIM card law implementation. They knew there are also loopholes. And they knew that the telcos are not accountable. They just sell to anyone who wants to buy SIM cards. So outside of the law, they need to put telcos they need to hold telcos to account. And they need to also tighten the rules and guidelines in getting SIM cards.
Okay, on that note, we have a phone-in question from one of our editors, Joey Francisco. Pinapatanong ni Joey, Senator, kung nagpaalam na ba daw sa inyo si Senator Sani Angara? I'm sure you know we're trying to fish
morning,
for...
magkasama kami sa Aurora. It was the Philippine-Spanish Friendship Day. So, magkasama kami sa Aurora. Kasama pa naman siya.
Yun. Hindi pa raw nagpapaalam, Joby.
He's the best to me. He's the best.
Ang sabi ni Senator, kasama
best fit
siya.
for the
Hindi niya sinabi,
DepEd.
hindi nagpaalam.
Because he's, number one, he's a member of the Education Committee, so he knows the problem and solutions very well. And then he was the chairman of our Finance Committee, the Ways and Means Committee, so he knows budgeting very well. And then third, the educational background. There's no debate. Graduated from UP Law, from London School of Economics, then masters in Harvard. So in terms of educational background, there's no debate.
Okay.
He has very good, outstanding educational background. And plus, the solutions. Kilala ko si Sunny, he's an outside-of-the-box thinker. So we've talked about other outside-the-box solutions in the education system that
Okay.
I think will work and improve the system.
Okay.
So sir, inalok na nga sa kanya?
Ano lang tanongin niyo?
Talagang pinipilit or still trying to fish. Okay. Maraming salamat, Senator Win Gatchalian.
Thank you, sir.